Hi, I'm Heather Moore from Heather Moore Fine Art, and I've been asked to review the Hickman Designs Registration Pins for Linocut. So I'm going to take you through a little bit about how I used them and what I thought of them while I was using them. And then you can grab the link and take a closer look using the description. Hi, I'm Heather Moore from Heather Moore Fine Art, and I've been asked to review the Hickman Designs Registration Pins for Linocut. I am getting ready to start a new print, and I've been gifted these new pins by Hickman Design to test out. So they work similarly to other ones that I've used before. They've got this little for want of a better word, nubbin. I've been watching too much Friends. To click into the tab, and the tab sticks to the paper, and then you get it in the right place every time. They do come with little screws to screw into your surface, but I don't use a surface that I can screw into, so I'm just going to tape them down and see how we go with that, because you know, you've got that option too. So let's see how it goes. These are the pins that I usually use, so they've got the same attachment here, and I just tape them down. They're Ternes Burton pins, and they use the same tabs, and then I sort out a registration area in my press. So the block goes in there, the paper clicks in there, and then it all presses down. But the piece I'm doing next is a lot bigger than this. Before you commit to actually putting the pins and things on, you need to make sure that your cutout actually fits the blocking. Oh, it needs a tiny bit taken out of there just to make it fit. I need a sliver out. But if this stage doesn't work, then there's no point moving on. Right, I've now trimmed that, and it's now fitting in nice and snug. We don't want any wiggle room. We want it to just fit perfectly. I have just used the cardboard box that the paper came in to make my registration frame. If you were using an electric press or a large wheel press, then you'd want to use a board that is thinner than this and probably a bit sturdier than this. So like cereal boxes are really good for creating registration bases, but because I am going to be hand burnishing this piece, this works fine for my needs. So now I'm at the stage of lining up all the tabs. So the pins, I have put a tab on each one so that I can make sure they're overlapped with the paper that I'm using. And you see these holes here need to be overlapped on the paper so that when we tape them down, they get nice and secure. The paper itself lines up with the outside of my registration board so that I get a nice border around my print. And yeah, each piece of paper is going to have 2 tabs on it just to make sure that it's nicely lined up and nice and secure every time it presses. Like I said, these pins come with little screws that you can screw into whichever surface you're using. I don't have a surface that I'm screwing into, so I'm going to tape them down as well. And it's important to choose a tape that works with the tabs and is quite sturdy, because you don't want the tabs to be coming off every time you pull a layer, but at the same time you don't want, when you remove the tabs, to be taking off too much of the lovely paper that you're using. So there's a bit of trial and error involved. I'm using Fabriano Unica paper, so masking tape, washing tape and some sellotapes work quite well. But either way, you have to be pretty gentle when you're taking the tabs off. What's really handy, or one of the really handy things about using pins and tabs to line everything up, is If, like me, you did a layer and you're not happy with the amount of ink that was on it, you can re-ink the block and then replace, I do this one-handed, replace the paper and go for a second press with it. Normally use 2 hands for this, but as I'm trying to give you an up close look, I only have one, and then you end up with a much better colour and it's all perfectly lined up. So in conclusion, these pins work as well as any other pins that I've used before. They helped me align my work brilliantly so that every layer was lined up just as I wanted. They were easy to use, really sort of intuitive, and the price is comparable to other pins that I've used before. But also I really like the fact that although I don't have a surface that I can screw into, if you are, particularly if you're using the same sort of size of lino block and paper over and over again, it would be a really great idea to have a wooden board surface that you can screw these pins into, and then you're only ever having to do your registration once, which saves a lot of brain power, a lot of measuring, and just keeps the flow of your work going. So I would highly recommend the Hickman Design Registration Pins for Linocut, and I have popped a link in the description below. I've also popped a link in there so that you can go check out my shop, and if you want any tips or any inspiration for the future, then hit subscribe and share this with another lino printing artist that you think would find it really useful.